You should see how I'm balancing this camera. Hey, y'all's balls! So today, we're gonna do something a little bit more, more heated. So I actually wanted to do this topic a while ago, but as you can tell, I haven't yet. Anxiety. And just the fact that I wanted to get all my information together and compiled to talk about this. And because, listen, Ben Shapiro is, you say what you want about him, he is a smart guy. I think he's a very smart person. I just think his idea in what transgender people are and where it kind of stems from is very, very skewed and not realistic. And I always known him to be a very realistic person, but it's weird and it's strange and it's kind of fishy how he's very, very realistic with a lot of this, with almost all of his ideas, but then he's very, very unrealistic when it comes to trans issues and trans people in general. Hello. So, Ben Shapiro believes in biological realist pronouns. And basically what that means is, we all know what a pronoun is. It's he, she, they, that kind of stuff. And he believes in the biological realism of using a person's pronouns, which basically means that whatever chromosomes and or genitalia you have is how he will refer to you. If you have a vagina, he doesn't care what the fuck you are, you're a she. And if you have a penis, you are a he. The problem I'm having is not the social aspect, because he, first of all, I'm not gonna be a Zoe, okay? I'm not gonna, listen, young man, I'm gonna beat the I'm no Zoe, okay? But from a social aspect, even though I disagree, I respect his ideas. This is the US, land of the free, home of the brave, freedom of speech. He has every right to call me a man. And all that good shit. So that's from a social aspect. But you'll notice a lot of the time when he takes it from a biological aspect and from a scientific aspect, he's off. And I will show you why he's very off, and it's very, very unrealistic. So, biological set pronouns. Now, let's all concede something here. Gender, binary. Sex, binary. Also, gender, psychological. Sex. So now that we have that out of the way, let's go to the problems. With biological pronouns, he claims that he wants to be intellectually honest. Now, the problem with being intellectually honest about biological realist pronouns with trans people is that it's not realistic, nor does the biology even support that, nor does the science support that. And I'm taking it to trans brains, and this is where it does get complicated because brains are complicated. And I feel like when I respond to conservatives with stuff having to do with trans issues, it's like, it always comes back to the brain, but it's because they don't think about the trans brain. And you know, maybe they have other priorities. I don't know what Lucas's priorities are really.
You have to understand, the odds aren't in our favor, all right? They're just not. We're 13% of the population. Give us a second with your LGBTQRSTUV stuff. Just give us a second.
I think he has too little priorities for the amount of videos he shoots out his ass a week. But anyway, I say that as I'm like totally inactive. The problem is they don't think about the psychology of what a trans person is. So basically, the brain, as complex as it is, the brain has gray matter and white matter. White matter affects how the brain learns, and gray matter affects our cognition. Females have more white matter than gray matter in their brain, and males have more gray matter than white matter in the brain. Now comes the plot twist. There's no hair over here. Now comes the plot twist. Through autopsies back then, it has been found that transgender people have the white matter to gray matter ratio different than their biological sex they were born as. i.e. a trans man will have more gray matter than white matter ratio, and a trans woman will have a more white matter ratio to gray matter. And as we stated earlier, biological males have more gray matter, biological females have more white matter, and that is in cis people. But the plot twist is that's also in trans people. And at first this was studied under autopsies of trans brains, but now it's studied through MRI scans. So it's been proven on a technological level and a physical level through autopsies being physical and MRIs being technological. So this has been proven in multiple forms of science that trans women have brains that resemble that more of a biological female than a biological male. And trans men have brains that represent more of that of a biological male. So that in and of itself invalidates calling me a he from a scientific standpoint. I wouldn't consider myself 100% cis man based purely on the fact that cis men don't have a brain like this, and vice versa for a trans man. That's just the tea there. Gender dysphoria is a real phenomenon. Now this disconnect from my brain to body, psychology to my biology, this disconnect makes trans people and makes me as a trans person valid, not in my identity, but in my biology. This is a biological phenomenon that actually does happen, and I have a whole conspiracy that gender dysphoria is a form of intersex, but that's for a future video. I do remember seeing something in a Ben Shapiro video where he was like, now if you want to discuss an alternative pronoun, then I'd be happy to have that conversation. So, I don't know what the fuck he wants. In all honesty, I think he just calls trans women men and trans men women to hype up conservatives. What a savage, what a fucking, he destroyed that transgender person. Ugh. And then with biological sex, what pronouns you based off a penis and what's based off a vagina, like, I'm not gonna drop my pants. And this goes into the more social aspect, which we talked about a little bit earlier, but I just wanna bring up that if Ben Shapiro saw me on the street, he would fucking call me a she, okay? There's some people, of course, that are clockable and they can't help that, but like, it's just weird how like, in a social setting, you would call me a she. The only reason you would be calling me a he is to be a dick. Like, not even just the fact that I'm trans, but if you just called like any woman cis trans a he, they'd be like, see, my thing with being conservative, and I thought Ben Shapiro's thing with being conservative, is making life not as hard as it should be. And I think with a lot of social aspects of politics, it should be that. They don't even have to be like a pretty trans person or a hot trans person or a sexy trans person. Like, I just see a lot of normal looking trans people that just average everyday looking person. It seems like if you knew they were trans in any way, it's one thing if you mess it up, but to base pronouns off biological realism, which we already proved is not accurate, it's not scientifically accurate, but then proceeding to misgender a person, it's not rooted in science, because the science has been proven wrong about that. Trans people are different than cis people, and it just seems like you're going out of your way to be a dick, therefore going out of your way to make life harder for yourself and make life harder for somebody else. By calling me a he, you are making life more difficult than it should be. And trust me, I know, because I went to school and people went out of their way nonstop to call me a he, and even they would slip up. Even they would slip up sometimes, and I would call them out on it. It's like, it's difficult. I don't think some people realize how difficult it is. So Ben Shapiro, you were wrong in that aspect. And to any conservative out there who's watching, I hope I could have changed your mind in any way, shape, or form. Anyway, thank y'all's balls so much for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, do what you do. And I'll see y'all's balls in the next video. London, out.